The arrival of Grandpa Romano marks a pivotal shift in the narrative rhythm of this one-day-at-a-time transcript, injecting a powerful dose of intergenerational conflict that underscores the central tensions of the series. As the doorbell rings, and Anne's father makes his surprise entrance, the Romano apartment transforms from a space of everyday single-mother routines into a battleground of clashing values. Where traditional Italian-American family expectations collide with the hard-won independence of a divorced woman in 1970s America. Grandpa Romano, portrayed with a mixture of gruff affection and stubborn conviction, embodies the voice of the old world, carrying with him the weight of generations of Romanos who have never experienced divorce. His unannounced visit, framed as a simple potluck in the couch for a couple of days, quickly reveals deeper motives as he gently, but persistently urges Anne and the girls to return to the family fold in Loganport. From the moment he embraces his granddaughters, with tears in his eyes, declaring how quickly they have grown, the script captures the bittersweet essence of family reunions. Anne's gentle reminder that he had seen them only a couple of months earlier is met with Grandpa's heartfelt insistence on cherishing these moments. This tender exchange highlights the emotional core of the grandfather's character, a man who deeply loves his family yet struggles to reconcile his protective instincts with the reality of his daughter's new life. The writing here is masterful in its subtlety, allowing humor and pathos to coexist as Grandpa surveys the apartment and immediately begins critiquing the old dirty ratty carpeting in the elevator. His contractor's eye cannot resist offering unsolicited advice to Schneider, promising improvements while simultaneously signaling his discomfort with the urban, somewhat rundown environment in which his daughter has chosen to raise her children. One of the most compelling aspects of this section is the way it explores the pull of Loganport as both a literal place and a symbolic representation of security, tradition, and community. Grandpa repeatedly invokes the solid Italian-American community back home with its big backyard, decent people, and strong familial support network. He contrasts this idealized vision with what he perceives as the dangers and instability of city life in Indianapolis. His concerns are not entirely unfounded within the context of the 1970s, an era when many families grappled with the rapid social changes brought about by increased mobility, rising divorce rates, and shifting gender roles. For Grandpa Romano, Anne's decision to build a life away from Loganport represents not just physical distance but a rejection of the life path he had envisioned for her, one rooted in marriage stability and proximity to extended family. The dialogue between father and daughter crackles with authenticity and emotional depth. When Anne tries to reassure him that things are going well, Grandpa presses gently but firmly, offering to buy a new vacuum cleaner as a tangible symbol of his desire to provide and protect. Anne's firm refusal, reminding him that she cannot accept such gifts, sparks the first major confrontation. The exchange about the second anniversary of her divorce is particularly poignant, revealing Grandpa's lingering disappointment not only in the dissolution of her marriage but in what he sees as a break in the unbroken chain of Romano family traditions. His comment about cousin Rosalie earning a doctorate while Anne got a divorce is delivered with a mix of humor and genuine pain, illustrating the generational gap in how success and failure were measured in mid-20th century Italian-American households. As the conversation deepens, the script delves into themes of pride, independence, and the evolving definition of family. Anne's assertion that she has lasted 2 years on her own, far beyond the 2 weeks her father predicted, stands as a quiet triumph of resilience. Yet Grandpa's counterarguments touch on universal parental fears, the desire to shield one's child from hardship and the difficulty of accepting that they must forge their own path. His suggestion of a little visit that gradually escalates into an invitation for a full year reveals the well-meaning but overbearing nature of his love. The historical context here is rich. In the 1970s, many parents from more traditional backgrounds viewed the rising divorce statistics with alarm, seeing them as symptoms of moral decay rather than necessary steps toward personal liberation for women like Anne. Schneider's presence during these scenes provides essential comic relief without undermining the emotional weight. His dimmer bulb quip and interactions with Grandpa highlight the cultural contrasts between the building's laid-back superintendent and the old-school contractor. Meanwhile, Julie and Barbara navigate the arrival of their grandfather with a mixture of affection and wariness, aware that his visit brings both warmth and unwelcome pressure. The script excels in showing how family dynamics shift when an elder figure enters the household, disrupting the delicate equilibrium Anne has worked so hard to establish. A standout moment occurs when Grandpa probes Anne about her social life and dating, expressing concern that she is raising the girls without sufficient male influence. His mention of Polly Monsafrito, the neighborhood Italian boy who remains unmarried and lives with his mother, serves as both comic relief and a pointed suggestion that Anne return to familiar territory. Anne's witty responses and firm boundaries demonstrate her growth as a character who has moved beyond the domineering influences of both her father and her ex-husband Ed. The dialogue reaches a tender peak when Grandpa expresses how empty his life has become since Anne moved away, describing how he still drives by the old house looking for bicycles in the yard. This vulnerability humanizes him, transforming him from a figure of patriarchal authority into a lonely father grappling with change. Thematically, this part of the transcript masterfully examines the tension between self-reliance and familial duty. Anne's journey as a liberated mother in the 1970s is thrown into sharp relief against Grandpa's traditional worldview. The writers use these conversations to comment on broader societal shifts, the women's movement encouraging financial and emotional independence, the normalization of divorce, and the challenges faced by single parents in creating stable homes. Yet the script never descends into didacticism. Instead, it allows the characters to breathe, argue, laugh, and ultimately reaffirm their love for one another even amid disagreement. Scene by scene, the pacing is impeccable. The initial joy of the reunion gives way to subtle probing, then open debate, and finally moments of raw honesty. The performances implied through the transcript suggest actors who understood the weight of these generational conversations. Grandpa's mixture of bluster and tenderness, Anne's patient yet passionate defense of her choices, and the girls' quiet observations create a fully realized family portrait. The humor arises organically from cultural misunderstandings and exaggerated protective instincts, while the heartfelt moments remind viewers of the enduring power of parental love. As Grandpa's visit unfolds, the script also begins laying groundwork for later conflicts involving Barbara's brush with the law and Julie's romantic entanglements. His arrival serves as a catalyst that forces Anne to articulate and defend the life she has built, strengthening her resolve, even as it stirs up complicated emotions. In the broader landscape of 1970s television, few shows captured this particular brand of domestic realism with such warmth and insight. One Day at a Time stands out for its willingness to portray the messy ongoing negotiations within families navigating divorce, relocation, and changing social norms. The pull of Loganport represents more than geography, it symbolizes the comfort of the known, versus the uncertainty of forging a new identity. Grandpa's well-intentioned efforts to bring his daughter home reflect a generation's struggle to adapt to a world where daughters no longer necessarily follow the paths laid out by their parents. Anne's resistance, delivered with both love and conviction, marks her as a quintessential 1970s heroine, proud, imperfect, and determined to raise her daughters with the strength and independence she herself is still cultivating. In these scenes, the writing shines through its attention to detail, the way conversations overlap, the small gestures of affection, and the gradual escalation of emotional stakes. Viewers are invited not to take sides, but to empathize with all parties, recognizing that love can manifest as both gentle pressure and fierce protection. This part of the transcript beautifully sets up the larger arc of the episode, blending comedy with poignant reflection on what it means to be a family in transition during one of the most transformative decades in modern American history. The arrival of Grandpa Romano ultimately enriches the narrative by adding layers of history, expectation, and unconditional love to the Romano household. It reminds us that even in the most progressive sitcoms of the era, the ties that bind families remain complex, enduring, and profoundly human.